Sairam. All right, we are back. And as you see, we are having some technical issues. We will be having some technical issues, but I'm sure all of you have been in the same position multiple times in the past. So you bear with us, forgive us, and we'll all move forward together. With that, just to quickly talk through some important Zoom keeping rules. Please do mute yourself. There could be echo, there could be a lot of other issues. Please do mute yourself whenever you're not planning on speaking, and keep in mind that we will be actively muting folks who we see are unmuted, so you would have to unmute yourself as and when you choose or want to speak. We are requesting everybody, it's a very strong request, if that's even a phrase, to keep your videos on. It helps to see that people are integrated into the session, they're enjoying it, and we're all involved. So the videos do help. So please do keep it on. Use the virtual Zoom chat option or the hand raise feature if you have questions. We would be constantly monitoring the chat as well as looking for raised hands. So instead of unmuting and stopping the flow of the uh, speaker, it would be great if we can first do a hand raise, or you could ask your question via chat. We may use breakout rooms, perhaps not today, but in future. If you mistakenly do leave the breakout room, you'll be able to join the same breakout room again. So don't worry, and you can always post questions on the chat room again. You can utilize the thumbs up or the clap reactions in response to any of the spoken words that you in particularly like that come up during the series. Moving on. It is my privilege and honor to introduce Mr. Jaggu Jagannathan. He, as Mrs. Lakshmi mentioned earlier, as he mentioned himself and as a part of his program director teaser video, he has been there through thick and thin of the conceptualization of the entire program. But just to give you a glimpse into, a very short glimpse into what his background is, Mr. Jaggu Jagannathan has 40 plus years of experience in senior leadership management positions in steel, auto, information technology, and quality management services. He was the CEO of Tata Quality Management Services, a division of Tata Sons, and later became the executive vice president and the global head of business excellence for Tata Consultancy Services, India's largest IT services provider. He has worked with partners in Latin America, Europe, South Asia, South Africa, and Australia, a long list, gaining a global perspective towards business excellence, cost improvement, and quality management. He has trained thousands of executives all over the world in business excellence, excellence in leadership, and time management. Till recently, he was the CEO of Transcon International and is currently the director and co-founder of Gurukul Learning Systems. Mr. Jaggu has been a pioneer in developing quality management systems in India and has been recognized internationally for his contributions to value engineering. He's a certified value specialist from SAVE in USA. He holds an engineering degree and a master's degree in industrial management from the coveted Indian Institute of Technology, Chennai, and AMP from INSEAD, France. He's the author of two books, Getting More at Less Cost, The Value Engineering Way, and The Value Strategy. An ardent devotee of Swami, he is a visiting faculty to the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning as well, where he teaches business excellence to the senior management students, something he has been doing for the last 5 years. In 2019, he facilitated the introduction of business excellence as a full credit elective subject in the curriculum of the second year MBA program. With that, I welcome Mr. Jaggu Jagannathan to lead the workshop, and over to him. Sarah.
Thank you very much, Kshitij. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. First and foremost, I would like to offer my humble prostrations at the lotus feet of my beloved Lord, Shri Sathya Sai Baba, who is my Guru, Guide, and Bhagwan. Sairam, everyone, and welcome to this first session of the Effective Leadership Workshop series. I'm really delighted to be associated with this workshop series. The topic for discussion today is business excellence. So you may wonder, why have we chosen business excellence as the first topic for discussion? Well, this will become very evident very soon as the discussion proceeds. So all that I would like to ask you is to sit back, relax, and enjoy the session. As and when there is a doubt, please feel free to jot them down. If you have a question, please park them and raise them during the Q&A session. But if there's a burning question, you have to ask me right away, then please use the chat box, and I'm sure Kshitij will take care of that. And at the appropriate moment, he will raise the topic and the question, and I will try to clarify. Is that okay? All right. Next one, please. This session of 90 minutes is divided into 6 sections. In the first section, we will introduce the topic of excellence per se. We will have a look at excellence from 3 different perspectives. And then we will go on to business excellence. Having heard too much of talk, then you would like to do some exercise. So because of the lockdown, we can't really go out and run. So we will do a mental gym within the classroom. And we will have an exercise which will stimulate some creative thinking, followed by the discussions on business excellence framework. What is this framework that we are talking about? And how this framework has been adapted across the globe. There are several lessons which we have learned by this adaptation, and I would like to share before you some of those findings. Then, of course, the 5th session will be the Q&A, and the last one is very important to all of us who are organizing this program, your valuable feedback. Okay, so with that, we move on to the discussions on business excellence. What is excellence? Can some of you say, what do you think is excellence? Please use the chat box and write 1 or 2 words about what is excellence. Just 1 minute time. What do you think is excellence? Any thoughts?
We do have some thoughts coming in. Pavitra says it's being good at everything you do.
Yeah.
Isha is stressing on the importance of quality. Eason mentioned that excellence is to do something incredibly well. I see comments like oh wow, this is populating fast. To excel in things that you want to do. Excellence is not settling down and striving for perfection. It's being the best and pushing ourselves constantly, consistently being good at one thing.
Okay, good. You know, all of you are right. And at the same time, there is something a little short of the actual meaning of excellence. Let's see what that is. Rishma, would you help? Yeah. Now, I happened to meet this young man by name Adrian Moorhouse of UK in London on the 23rd of March, 2011. He is the Olympic champion in 100 meters breaststroke in the year a very interesting, charming person. And when we got to discuss about excellence, he said something which got etched in my mind. And he said, doing better than the best. Doing better than the best. Now, why did he mean that? Now let's see the details. Next one, please. What happened in the LA Olympics in 1984 was a disaster as far as Adrian was concerned. And what happened was he missed his medal by just whiskers, 0.02 seconds. 0.02 seconds he missed his medal. But he was so badly reprimanded by his own people, particularly the media. Okay, can I have the next one? Daily Telegraph said Adrian Moorhouse should do himself good for the sport of swimming by retiring. Can you imagine this? That a young man at the age of 20 who is aspiring to become the world champion, he is being asked by his own country's media that he should retire. And he was only 20, but if he has to win another Olympic, then it will be 4 years down the lane. And the odds were very much against him because more youngsters would be participating in this highly, very, very competitive sport. So what did he do? He visited his vision, he revisited it, and reconfirmed that, yes, my goal is to win the gold medal, nothing short of that. Did what is called as a thorough SWOT analysis, analyzed his own strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats, discussed it with his coach, and formulated a new strategy. And how did he form his strategy? The strategy was based on benchmarking with the best in the world for each element of swimming competition. The way you stand at the edge of the pool, the way you bend yourself before the dive, and how much time should be taken for diving into the pool, what distance you should jump in the first case, how quickly you can return. Every aspect was benchmarked, and he timed it and said, in each of these elements, I have to improve and I must do it. So he took a holistic picture of the whole thing and worked on it for 4 years. Okay, and what is the result? Let's see the results. Let's see the video.
We're looking for a 28.88 record split.
Adrian is a fellow who's between the green and the yellow hat, the black hat. This is not Adrian. His competitor was actually beating him, but what happened in the last seconds is most important. So what happened? He won the gold medal, and by how many seconds? Let's see that, Rishma. You see the number of seconds. It is running into decimals in 100th of a second. But what matters is the passion for excellence, the perseverance for excellence, and the patience to practice. All these 4 P's are extremely critical if one has to be excel. If one has to excel in your workplace, these 4 P's are very, very critical. Now let's look at excellence. Why did he say that better than the best? Let's see what happened to his record. Next one. His own countryman, Adam Peaty, breaks Olympic record and sets a new record of 57.13 seconds, under a minute, in the Rio Olympics in 2016. From 1988 to 2016, the time has been shortened. And Peaty beats his own record from 2016, and in 2019, His new time is 56.88 seconds. So excellence is a continuous journey. Let's look at excellence through a researcher's eyes. Now, this is Sean Acor, who has been doing a lot of research in the last couple of years. He was a student at Harvard. 12 years he spent as a student, and then several years as a teaching staff. He did an exclusive research on excellence and happiness. There's something very different, doing a research on happiness across the spread of all the countries and different executives, different profiles. And he traveled extensively to complete his research. And what did he find? Let's see what his observations are. His research findings show that happiness and excellence go together. Excellence is striving to realize one's full potential, directly proportional to the level of happiness. And happiness leads directly to success, and happy people are more successful. How many of you are from Google? Only one or some more? There is a beautiful video in YouTube available of Sean, where he addresses the executives of Google. And please, I encourage all of you to see that video. And he talks about happiness advantage, where the normal thinking is, we all think that I have to, if I am successful, then I will become happy. That is a normal way of thinking. But his research found that if I am happy, then I'm going to be more successful. So success actually follows happiness. The whole journey, the whole footpath that is available to you has to be completely filled with happiness so that success becomes automatic. Let's look at excellence from a different point of view. Do we have an eye for excellence? Some feel very happy and inspired, identifying and appreciating excellence, looking at things, hearing things, seeing things, and so on. When we talk of service to humanity, the idea immediately comes is Mother Teresa. Music, man-made structures, the image of Taj Mahal or Great Wall of China or the pyramids of Egypt, and so on. Technology, different kinds of products, inspiring leaders from the industry. Well, I have got this person, but you can think of anyone else who has inspired you. So do we capture and see excellence everywhere around us? In the field of sports, of course, there are so many of them. I put Sachin because I love cricket. Now, but you will not believe me if I say this, that not everybody has got an eye for excellence. But why is it that we do not see excellence around us? And that is only because of the values that we have entertained right from the beginning. And what are these values that, that is affecting us or stopping us from seeing excellence? Now, here is a behavior outcome iceberg, which is an imaginary thing. But what we see as a personality of an individual, what we see as his behavior is only the outermost surface. And it is seen, but there is something behind that. There is something much below the behavior. Why does a person behave in a particular way? That's because of certain habits which he has got over the last so many years. And these habits have been formed because of certain attitude he or she encourages. or practices or keeps it. And that attitude is again based on values. Now, if I have a value that is mediocrity is okay, Rishma, if I say that, oh, this is okay, there is a mistake here, it's all right, chalega, it's okay, then the behavior is going to be poor performance. The outcome is poor performance and apathy. Whereas if my value is excellence, then the attitude will be different. It will be continuous improvement. I have to be better than the best. And the habit will be run the last mile. I have to do that. Whatever it takes, I must do this. And the behavior will be much better performance and happiness all over. So this is a constant cycle, a repetitive cycle which happens. So the most important thing, one leads to another. So if I have the value of mediocrity, then that leads me to poor performance, and poor performance leads me again, reinforcing the bad value of accepting mediocre performance. Whereas if I have a value of excellence, then better performance is the outcome. And when you perform better, then you have excellence as the foundation, which gets further reinforced. So focus on values in order to get the best behavior and best outcome. Okay, next one. So the journey to excellence, it's a continuous journey. To becoming a world-class organization, you have to do the better than the best. And it's a very exciting and never-ending journey. Nobody gets, no good, effective leader will ever be satisfied with the success that he or she has achieved. That is the trait of an effective, excellent leader. And that's what we are aiming to become. Because Swami doesn't say that you become an ordinary person. He says the young adults are the lions. You have to roar like the lion, and you have to walk like the lion and behave like the lion. So if that be the case, then our journey is going to be striving for becoming better than the best. And that is a continuous journey. Next one. Okay, here is the time for some exercise. The young adults you have heard me so far. I would like you to list 3 companies or organizations that you know of, which you consider, in your opinion, as truly world-class as per your own criteria, from what you have heard. It could be anywhere in the world. It could be in South Africa, it could be in Timbuktu, it could be anywhere, okay? It could be in India, it could be anywhere. And it could be an organization from the Bay Area. But please have a criteria for selecting the choice of your company. So what is that? List any 3 companies and use the chat box, please. Kshitij will help me consolidate also.
Not that I am putting it this way, but the first company that's come up is Apple.
Yeah.
There's Southwest Airlines. I see Nike. Oh, Sanjana brings up the Bombay Dabbawalas. That's awesome. And then there's Tesla, there's Tata, there's the Google, there's McKinsey. I see Etsy and Workday. And we have SSIO coming in as well. Woo!
Good.
That's
That's good.
Pretty strong list.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure you have a solid reason for it, right? So I would like you, please continue. Apple, Amazon, Tesla, very good. So is there any majority which is emerging from this?
I think it is Apple. But I do see Southwest Airlines and Apple being repeated the most.
Okay, very good. All right. So let's have at least 3 to 5 reasons, but just write one word, because we don't have much time for reading an essay or a long sentence. So just write one word to illustrate your reason for selecting a particular company and use the word cloud. Take a couple of
Right.
minutes.
Um, this is, I see innovation and respect as being some of the common themes that our young adults are seeking in these companies. There's ethics, there's vision, there's adaptability, and that's very interesting. There's a thoughtfulness that goes behind these companies. Again, that's a great metric to be judging a company by. There's inclusion, there's diversity, there's clarity, there's smart work.
Ethics,
That's again very interesting. It needs to be values oriented.
clarity.
Need to be able to empathize. I see Tesla's made onto the list of the criteria as well. um, they need to be seeking perfection, hardworking.
Adaptability is good. Values oriented.
I see, Mr. Jagu, you've gotten quite a few words that you were seeking.
Okay, good. Just stop here for a minute.
Yeah, this can keep populating.
Yeah.
I'll push my forward the screen again.
Thoughtfulness. No, I would like to see the word cloud, please. Yeah. Innovation, ethics, bottom line, I suppose. When you say bottom, I mean the profitability probably. Values oriented, clarity. What is double here?
It's
Where is it
possibly
coming?
a two-word response that got broken down, so we won't really know.
Oh, okay. Grassroots. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. All of you are quite right and very close to the discussion that we are going to have about the framework for business excellence.
Yeah, but we see the highlights as being the biggest
Is the innovation.
criteria that young adults hold close to their hearts are vision, empathy, values, reach, respect, and the biggest by far is the innovation that we are looking at.
This is definitely expected from the Bay Area, definitely. You know, innovation has got to be there. If I were to conduct this in Boston, the same thing would have been there. In MIT, when we had a small workshop, innovation and creativity, stood first. So it is quite natural. Okay, Krishna. Now, these criteria that you had chosen, we had very quickly done this exercise, right? Within 5 minutes, you have come across and you have listed these things. Let's see what the framework is all about. When I say framework, what do I mean? What is this 4A model? The 4A model it says awareness, assessment, then action, and assurance. Every business entity works within a business environment. Every organization for that matter, even if it is non-business entity, then it works, but within a given environment. Now, if I were to understand and assess this company's strengths and weaknesses, I should use some kind of a framework. And that is exactly what we do by using the business excellence framework. We determine what the strengths are and what the opportunities for improvement is. We don't say weaknesses, we say opportunities for improvement, because our values are excellence. So the attitude is one leaf of identifying opportunities for improvement and acting upon them. So improving the strengths further, strengthening the strengths, and closing the gaps for the opportunities and improving upon it further. So that becomes the model for action. And then finally, which is very, very important, is assurance. assuring to all the stakeholders of the business that our processes are such that it will be able to sustain excellence on a continuous basis. You know, it is reaching the top is it is difficult, definitely, but not impossible. But staying on the top place is very, very, very difficult. Okay. So it is like that. So you have to have reassuring processes in the organization that helps the stakeholders to have faith in the business that they are involved with. When I meant stakeholders, I mean the employees, the customers, the shareholders, the larger community which they serve, and so on. All of them, including the government and others. Okay? So this is the 4A model: awareness, assessment, action, and assurance. So how do we do this? Go to the next slide, please. Now, the Baldrige Excellence Program is a US-based model. In the year 1980s, when US was not doing very well on the quality front and was being losing to the Japanese quality products, it became very essential that something has got to be done with the industry. And it fell upon the presidency of Reagan, and the Commerce Secretary at that time was Malcolm Baldrige, who took it upon himself to see that how can I build the business in the US and make them take leadership positions in the world. So it was not an easy task. So a directorate was formed called the Baldrige Directorate. The Baldrige name was given after, unfortunately, when Malcolm Baldrige was taking so much of initiative and actions for improving the quality of the products made in US, he died in between because of a plane crash. But Reagan was so much moved with the work that he had done, he named it after Malcolm Baldrige. And that's how this became the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award Model, MBNQA model. Now, this framework is applicable to any industry. It's not only for manufacturing, even though it started with manufacturing as the major thing, but today it is applied, it can be applied to any industry, an NGO, non-profits. It is applied to the area of education, to healthcare, and so on. So you can apply it because these are generic principles, frameworks, which can be very easily adapted to suit the industry that you are trying to improve. Is that okay? Am I too fast? Is that okay? Okay, all right. So, next one, please. Now, what is this Baldrige model that we are talking about? Baldrige model consists of 7 criteria. You had several of them listed. Some of them you will see in the criteria and the values that the Baldrige encourages. Please, next one. That is what is called as a driver triad, which is the leadership, strategy, and customers. Now, every organization is run by the leadership team along with the associates. And the customer, without customers, there is no organization. Even for a service organization, you have to have customers. Who is a customer for SSIO, for example? Anyone? You can unmute and say, Ritesh.
Members, devotees.
Everyone, devotees, everyone, we are all.
Yeah, we are all, correct. So we are the customers for the SSIO. And so the leadership team has to meet the needs of the requirements of the customers, and they need to have a strategy formulated. And how can that strategy be executed? If the strategy is just formulated and it remains in the books of the of the leadership team and it remains on the table of the leaders, it is of no use. It needs to be deployed. It needs to be worked upon. So what did Swami do? Swami over the years has developed a process of volunteerism, that we have a Seva Dal activities. The whole of Prashanti Nilayam and all other activities are run by the Seva Dal so beautifully, without a break, and it happens so nicely. So you need to deploy what is there in the leadership's visionary zeal and goal that is getting deployed through the workforce and through the various processes. Like, for example, even for selecting a faculty, we have a process in SSIO, correct? That he should be of this nature, he or she should be of certain caliber, certain ethical background, and so on and so forth. So the same thing is true for any organization as well. So the organization operates through the driver triad and the work core to give you results. Now, this is not good enough. You need to measure the results. You need to analyze the results, and the processes have got to be improved. And for that, you require what is called as KM, that is knowledge management within the organization. So we are talking about the basic elements or modules of the criteria for business excellence using the Baldrige model. There are 7 of them, out of which 6 of them are called the approach, and the 7th one is the results. Approach and deployment, and then the results. Leadership gets the big chunk of points of 100 points out of 1,000. So when you do an assessment, you have 1,000 points allocated, and out of that, 100 points are given to leadership. And out of the approach, for the remaining criteria, you get 80 points for the approach and deployment. So you get 400 points for 5 of them, plus 100. So it makes it 500 points for approach and deployment. And for the results, it is 500 points. So here is the equal distribution between approach and deployment and results. It is not merely the results which determine how the company has operated. It is not like what Bismarck said, the end justifies the means. Here, the means are equally important, like what Lord Krishna would have agreed with. Probably Lord Krishna would have said, why give 500 points to the results? Results will follow automatically if you do a nishkame karma, right? And that is on the spiritual plane. This is on the material plane, so we still need the results. So approach and deployment of 500 points and results of 500 points, equal points. Now the results again here, it does not mean just working on financial results. So it comprises of product and process results, customer related results, workforce results, leadership and governance results, and financial, market, and strategy results. Can any one of you think of what could be the customer results? Use the chat box. With respect to your own organization, what do you think your leadership team at the level of the CEO and the directors on the board, or the senior vice presidents or the executive vice presidents would be looking for, seeing the customer results or the leadership and governance results and so on? What could be they looking at?
Some responses coming in, Mr. Jagu, are customer satisfaction.
Correct.
Always a look at profits.
Yeah.
To keep improving on the innovation front. There's sales, there's quality, value derived needs solved for the customers, value derived need solved for the customers.
Trust. Very good.
Trust, yes. we see customers continue to be customers for a long time. So customers coming back and repeat business is very crucial.
Very good.
There's
Very good.
feedback.
For example, some of the leadership results could be for audit compliance, regulatory compliance. Are they following all the compliance to the government regulations? Number of legal disputes that the company has entered into. How many cases are filed against the company? So, and then in terms of governance results, it could be in terms of even sustainability results like water conserved or the carbon credit, energy saved, contributions to the society at large. What is the ethical climate in the organization? So an ethical climate survey could be done. So like that, there are several results and each one of them has been categorized. So the distribution of 500 points is for these 5 different categories of results. Okay, next one. How am I doing on time front, please?
Oh, we are 45 minutes in, so we are roughly around the halfway mark.
Okay, good. So once again, we see that the core value, the industry leadership is based on the criteria of Baldrige, which decides how whether the company is really in an industry leadership position, and the criteria itself is based on certain core values. And what are these core values? Let us see. Yeah, now there are 11 core values. You will just read through, we don't have the time to discuss each one of them. But if you carefully look at these core values, many of them are direct derivatives of the human values what Swami has been teaching us. Satyam, Dharmam, Shanti, Prema, Ahimsa. You people had said that valuing people, respect for people should be there, right? Respect for customers, respect for employees was identified as one of the reasons for excellence. And valuing people is one of the criteria. You just see how beautifully you are matched. I'm dealing with a very intellectual group. So it's a very cakewalk for me to teach this group. Managing for innovation. You all said innovation is a very important thing. So you guys are already knowing what the criteria is. Did you all work at some point on business excellence? Delivering value and results.
Mr. Jagu, we do have an important question at this juncture.
Yeah.
Asked, at what part of the process should we focus on success?
Good question. Focus on success here. Actually, it's the other word used for strategy. That your strategy development and strategy deployment should be focused on results. That's what it means actually here. Good question. I'm glad that whoever has raised it is very good. That's a very, very interesting and very good question. Organizational learning and agility, the speed with which the companies react to the environmental changes is extremely important. Jack Welch says that if the rate of change within the organization is not faster than the rate of change outside, then the end is almost near for the organization. So ethics and transparency, we had ethics also identified by some of you. So these values are actually based on several companies who have done extremely well across the globe, and then these have been identified. And there is a tremendous, these are all also rooted on the values which Swami has been always telling us. Please go ahead. Next one. So what do we do with these values? Now that is a very important thing. So what is the philosophy of business excellence? Go ahead. Values have to be embedded in the processes. Just I'll give a simple example. Suppose one of the values of an organization is respect for people, okay? Our honesty in everything that we do. And when the employees are getting recognized at the end of the year for their annual increments or for promotion or for appraisal discussions, are they being evaluated for being honest or not? Because honesty is one of the values. Is that becoming a part of the process? Is the respect for the individual becoming a part of the process during the feedback session, during the appraisal time, or during the time when the discussions take place about goal settings and so on? So these are very simple things, but extremely important. Like I used to work for Tata Steel, a beautiful, very, very excellent company. And before Dr. Jamshed Irani, who was the managing director of the company, before he took charge of the company, he used to joke, saying that we have respect for customers as a very core value, but we really don't do that. And the joking, the very sarcastic way the customers were called was, "Jo kashta se marta hai, wo customer hai." Those of you who understand Hindi will appreciate this. Those who die because of the problems, he is the customer. So which had to be changed, and the whole culture had to be changed. The whole approach had to be changed. So the processes had to be changed. All the processes had changed. So the approach to the whole excellence program triggered off the changes in the processes. Okay, next one. And these processes have got to be practiced at all levels, in all divisions, in all departments, by all employees, and so on. So that becomes the deployment issue. And the next one. And these practices, every practice has got certain outcomes, which gives you the results for which you have actually done all these exercises. And then finally, you do an evaluation and improvement, an E&I cycle, which determines whether the results that you have got are as per the goals that you had set. And if there is a variation, then obviously it has to be because of an approach or because of a deployment not being effective. So it leads you to change the approach or the deployment, as the case may be. Okay, go to the next one. So the assessment is like a self-assessment. Where are we today? We analyze, we find out the strengths and weakness analysis. And then next one. And then the final scores are given out by this framework. So it gives you an idea. This is at the global level. The global image of a poor company, oh, this is a very poor company, means that probably they are scoring less than 350 points. You don't even want to work for that company. Okay? Whereas an emerging industry leader is somewhere in the range of 551 to 650. And that is considered as an average company. Whereas an excellent company is one who is the industry leader, will score anywhere between 650 to 750. And a benchmark leader is one who is cutting across all the industries, will be somewhere in the 800 range. So these scales are pretty tight, you can imagine. Even an emerging industry leader will be only at 650. Next one, please. Now, business excellence models across the world are all mostly derived from Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award model, which is from the United States, which was introduced in the year 1988, 1987, and 1988 was the first year when the assessments took place in the US. Almost at the same time, the European Foundation for Quality Management, EFQM, also had their own model for excellence. And they had to sound different from the US, for obvious reasons. That we are different from Americans, so we have to sound different. So they had a foundation, that foundation, but the criteria are more or less the same, almost the same, except for a few changes here and there. Then you had Australian Business Excellence Framework, Singapore Business Excellence Framework, New Zealand, South Africa, Japan. The Tata Business Excellence model is completely adapted from the Baldrige model. And then the Confederation of Indian Industries adopted the EFQM model for assessing their CII members in India. There was a GEM council formed, a Global Excellence Management Council was initiated in the year 2000. And they carried out a number of studies to see what were the findings. Wherever this model was applied, what were the benefits that they accrued to the organizations? So let's see what the benefits are. We are in the fourth stage of our discussions. One of the biggest lessons learned was that excellence was correlated directly to the kind of leadership that was provided in that organization. Now you know the reason why we talked about business excellence as the first session, to get you to the point that leadership is the most important thing across the globe that drives excellence in organizations. Appreciation, commitment, strategy, humility to accept. If a good leader is one who will accept faults and who is willing to accept and apologize. He's a good listener. He's determined. His purpose is very clear. He's values driven. He's very passionate, which we talked about. He's very principled, and integrity and so on. So these are some of the traits and other things which were the direct observations across the globe. And the real bottom line benefits were, please show the next slide. The ROI, the return on investment, is almost 820 times. The ratio is staggering. That means the investment one makes for the effort that goes into building excellence, if it costs, say, $100, the benefit that you get in terms of greater efficiency, less wastage, more jobs, and so on, is almost 100 times. So imagine the kind of benefits that one gets. And this is true not only for manufacturing or the business operations, but also in education, as well as in the healthcare industry. Next one. So what do we have to do? We need to accelerate the pace of change. That the organization is always surrounded by the change. And this is what I said about Jack Welch's famous quote: when the rate of change outside exceeds the rate of change inside, the end is in sight. Okay? So we need radical changes and we need breakthrough improvements. If we really want change, actually this business excellence model is actually a change model. How to bring about radical changes, at the same time remembering the values that the organization fosters, cherishes, remembers, and supports. So we need the need of the hour is speed. It's a marathon with the agility of a sprint. Imagine, it's a continuous journey that you have to, it's a big marathon. You keep running 26.4 miles, but not at the casual way, let me run like this. No, you have to run as if it's a sprint, 100 meters dash. Okay, next one. Okay, I'm ready for questions and answers. What's the time? 4:56, 5 o'clock. You have half an hour time. out of which I would say you should take about 10 minutes for your feedback and tell us what you have learned or what is some takeaways. But please use the next 20 minutes for a Q&A. I'm ready for it. And you have got the link here given by Madhu and her team here.
We can come to feedback in a bit. I think it will be great if we go through questions and answers for a bit. We don't necessarily have to do this over chat. We can feel free to unmute yourselves and ask Mr. Jagu any question that you might have.
Yeah, I would like to see the faces of all of you. Some of you are still muted on the video. I would like to see whom I'm addressing. Who are these such charming young adults, bright young adults who have already done the BE work so well?
Sairam, Uncle. This is Pavitra. I'm from Sacramento.
Yeah.
I just have one question. I did read and I took Swami's SSI YLP course, where in Mahavakya of Swami's leadership, he has spoken about to do, to be, to see, to tell. From the approach that what I learned from you, how can we incorporate that in, say, in a business approach or in an organization when Bhagavan is talking about a good leader should have these ideal for criteria, like those values, how should one incorporate that?
In fact, I would like to ask you the same question back to you. If you have understood this model, how do these four match up with what is talked about? Be means what?
To be means first one should be of our good selves, right?
So he or she should be a role model, right?
Yeah.
Role model is extremely important because what the leader does is more important than what he speaks. Unless he walks the talk, he is not going to be remembered at all. Ye to baat karta hai sirf. So it is of no use, right?
Yeah.
So the role model behavior is extremely important for a good leader. So if he says that I have to be honest, then he himself has to prove that he is honest beyond any questions. There is a beautiful example. I think it is McCarthy, who was the Secretary of State, and when he was very famous for his integrity. That whenever he used the government plane, he used to make sure that that was when he used the government plane for official purposes was different from being used for personal purposes, for the family purposes. So whenever he used it for the family purpose, his secretary will note it down that this is for the family and therefore this should be deducted from his salary. And he used to endorse that. He used to make sure that have you deducted it from my salary or not? So that is integrity, living by what you believe and what you speak, what you teach others. Swami says the same thing, right? Before you preach, you practice. Before I say Smaranam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, I should practice it myself. Just talking about it and saying that, oh yeah, God is everywhere, omniscient, omnipotent and all that. And I don't have to identify myself with this body, mind, intellect equipment is of no use, right? I have to practice and understand and live by that example.
Thank you. Yeah. So basically, incorporating the values into striving for excellence is what Swami wants us to do.
Absolutely. In whatever we are doing, for example, so say for example, Swami, now I will give you an example to the young adults, which may not be very tasty because of the example itself. The example is, Swami says, which is the Brahma Muhurtam? Between 4 and 5. Okay. And how many of us really get up between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m.?
When there is a need.
You won't believe this. It is not only true for the young adults or anyone. When I was of your age, probably I was also not not willing to get up like that. But even the older people, today we had in Fremont Science Center, we had the Parthi Yatra, and we all decided that we will do the Suprapadam at 5 o'clock in the morning. So people had to get up at 4:30 in the morning, and everybody without exception said, oh, getting up at 4:30 was really, really difficult. Am I right, Ritesh?
Yes, but they did appreciate it when they did, though.
Yeah, but they did appreciate. That is the point. So if the leaders can prove that they do get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, they do sit down for meditation, they do concentrate on Bhagwan, and spend some time on their own personal mental growth, then it is really meaningful. Any other question?
Yeah.
I'll be glad. Thank you very much.
Hello, Uncle. Sairam, Jagu Uncle. This is Sandeep from Tri Valley.
I want to see your face, man. Come on.
Here I am, Sairam.
There you go, Sandeep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when it came to business and management,
Yeah.
Swami has a kind of a word called man management.
Yes.
So where does this come in? Like, what are your thoughts about man management? Is it like is it more towards the HR related, like you treat people properly, or what are your thoughts on this, please?
The entire excellence game is all man management. The leaders have to deal with whom? Do you deal with machines? Probably the only machine that you deal with is the laptop and the cell phone. These are the only two machines with which you deal. But you deal with your board of directors, who are people, your direct reports, vice presidents, presidents, and executive vice presidents, and so on. Again, they are all people. And these direct reports also deal with their colleagues, who are all people. Okay? So it is the way you do. In fact, I forgot to mention that Dr. Deming and Dr. Juran are two quality stalwarts in the US after the World War II, when Japan was shattered. These two gentlemen were invited to Japan to resurrect and to help them rebuild the whole industry base. And they said, and people were saying, oh, this was a bad quality because of the workers did it. They said, no, not at all. 95% of the time, it is the leader's mistake by not selecting the appropriate machinery. Proper machinery was not provided to the people, so they will produce bad quality. So the responsibility is with the leaders, so with people again. So it is man management is extremely important. That is the 90% of the whole business.
Okay.
Only small percentage in actual business is the rest of the things.
Okay.
That is why it is more towards, leaning towards organizational behavior. My wife would be very happy when I speak of this, because she's an OB expert. So she will be happy if I speak about this. But all it does not mean that engineers and others, architects and others, don't have their engineering skills, which they have to do a good job. And they will do a good job only when they are happy.
Yes.
If Sandeep is very unhappy for some reason, okay, whatever may be the reason, whether he's unhappy because the dog did not behave properly on that day, so his output for that day or that moment will be very low, because you are affected by something external to you. And that quality output is based on your happiness, right?
Yes, correct.
So the quality of individuals, the man management part of it is extremely important. So the bosses have to understand, the leaders have to understand why my colleague is behaving in a particular way. Why is my associate on a particular day behaves like this? So if he understands that, takes a moment, instead of reacting, he thinks and then responds to that situation, it makes it more beautiful.
Joyful. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. I do see a couple of questions being asked in the chat
Please.
as well, Mr. Jagu.
Yeah.
The first one was from L, where she asked
Who is that?
Alicia.
Malaysia. Okay. Yeah.
how to balance material gain or profit with ethics.
Very, 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 very good question. How to balance? There is no question of balancing. It is ethics which governs. If I'm ethically correct and if I'm right, I fight for it. I may lose in the process materially. For example, I can proudly say this, that I have worked with the Tata Group in India for almost 38 to 40 years. And in that group, when the government was having restrictive practices and they wanted to give licenses to the industries to expand and do all new things, only when their hands were softened. Okay. Mr. J.R.D. Tata, the group chairman, said, I'm not going to oblige this way. Ethics is more important to me than more business and more money, more profits. So for almost, I think Dr. Shashank Shah will be, he has done a great research on the Tata Group and he will be sharing some of these things. I don't want to, surprise you with all that literature. But it is a fact that Tata suffered a lot because of the license Raj until Mr. Narasimha Rao, when he became the Prime Minister and opened India for the free world. Until then, the licenses were controlling the Tata Group and were stifling them. Very unfortunate, but that was what was happening. But he stood by the ethics. And the 2008 crash in the US and in Britain and in elsewhere were all unethical practices, which led to the complete crash of the economy, right? So ethics is by far the most important thing. Swami says, morality gone is gone. Then you see, there is nothing. But we have to value that very, very high.
Yeah.
What is the other question?
Yes. Rarely do we get straightforward answers, which are black and white, but in this case, it does seem to be that we are looking at ethics only as the solution. There's no balance between the two. Ritesh, did I cut you off?
No, so I wanted to ask a question as well, but did you want to read the other question that's on the chat first?
Let me quickly read out the question from Rasika and then we can take your question as well. We do have time. Rasika's question to you, Mr. Jagu, is why do companies like the FANG companies, FANG is Facebook, Apple, Netflix, and Google, only focus on the technical proficiency of employees and skills, but not on the human values? Though the companies say that they have values like empathy, collaboration, teamwork, etc., but are they really following those values? I think just to add to that, maybe since a lot of us did stress on how those are world leaders in terms of they set the benchmark, they're the category leaders. They're not emphasizing enough on the human values aspect, and how is that playing out in our practical space?
You see the current reaction from various advertisers in Facebook. What is happening? All the leading manufacturers are withdrawing their support. So, I mean, I don't want to say anything adverse or anything like that. I'm nobody to judge an organization without really seeing both the sides. But what is very important is any unethical practice will not be tolerated for a long time. The classic example is there was a great world leader who was really a great leader. If I read out the biodata of that gentleman, people will say, oh my God, this is wonderful. He's really a great leader. But the last line is, that was Adolf Hitler. Would you agree that he was a great leader? The answer is no, he was not. See, and Bismarck, the great German leader, he said, end justifies the means. End does not justify the means, not at all. The material wealth does not justify the means of achieving it. We have to have proper dharma. The four purusharthas which have been talked about, kama, artha, what are the other two? Dharma and moksha. That dharma is the first thing. By a dharmic means you can earn artha, which is the well-being for the individual. And the kama, which is the desire, should be for moksha, not kama for artha, but kama for moksha and dharma for artha. So a dharmic means, yes, certainly you should earn money. There is nothing, without money you can't live. And there is nothing wrong in earning money. Absolutely nothing wrong, as long as it is coming by dharmic means, by appropriate means, correct means. But if it is the adharma, or the adharmic way, then there is a problem. Does it answer you?
Uncle, I think it does to some extent, but the question was perhaps more, I believe Rasika was alluding to how, let's take Apple, for example, since I know some numbers, 100,000 plus employees, right? And we know at the very top, the leadership does stand very close to the seemingly righteous values, and they try and advocate for progressive thoughts and whatnot. That's the leadership, but that does not necessarily percolate all the way to the individual contributor.
Right.
So how does that balance?
Okay, yeah, that is a very sad part of the story, actually. Many organizations have got this big issue. The leaders speak something, and the deployment of those values across the organization is not taking place, which will be reflected once they are assessed on this framework. When you actually go and talk to the middle managers, are they becoming a wall between the leaders and the employees, the associates? In many organizations I have seen, in the Bay Area particularly, the technical skills part of it is being given a lot of importance. The human skills part of it is not given, which is very sad. That is exactly the reason why we said in this leadership program that we have initiated today, we want to give emphasis on the soft skills, which is very, very important. That is why we said values-driven leadership as a separate session exclusively for that. Because when you become the leaders, it is expected, Swami expects that we lead by example and we lead through values. The values of Bhagwan, the 5 human values.
Thank you, Uncle. Like actually on that topic, because Google also came up, this is a question I had myself. Even when you asked about the first question about the companies that we thought were excellent, even though I work for Google and I really respect it, I didn't really put it up there for one reason. And so that reason is really, so it is actually a very values-driven company, right? And the values do percolate quite, much deeper than you would expect for a company of like 100,000 people. And that just had, to give you an example, we would have access to the CEO and the founder every Thursday. We could go up as the, first person, just the intern can go up and ask a question right on the spot. And, just ask them anything. If Google was in the news, we can ask them, why was it in the news? Why was it bad like this? Why are you making this decision? And so they had found strategies to percolate the culture of openness, honesty, and all their values of respecting the user all the way down to the lowest levels. Now, the reason why I did not say that we were an excellent company was because there was still something at odds. And this has to do with balancing excellence in different situations. Excellence for how you treat your employees versus what is best for the user. An example is that I've heard, maybe somebody can confirm here, Apple doesn't treat their employees as well as Google but they would deliver products that are excellent for the users because they overwork them, or like they extract so much work from them. At Google, we value a lot of work-life balance. So nobody, for many years in a row, Google was the best place to work for in the world, right? That's actually a really big deal to say because everybody is comfortable and happy there, right? And so that actually is at odds with delivering really excellent products because I only work 8 hours a day. I am not working 16 hours a day or even 10, 12 hours a day. So how do we balance excellence in different spheres?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Because you see, some companies give a lot of importance to customer-driven excellence, meaning the customer is the king. Without the customer, we don't get anything at all. Unless the customer buys your product for whatever it is, for the brand image, for the quality, for the performance, for the reliability, and all these characteristics of the product, he buys it, and he pays $800 for the iPhone and so on. Now, vis-a-vis the employees who have actually developed the product, and if there is no respect for them, slowly that will dilute. Why do you have to recall a product? For example, Toyota had to recall Prius because of some fan belt problem and all that. I do drive a Prius, and I was told several times by the Toyota agent here saying that please bring your car back and so on. So I said, why? Because there is some problem with the quality. Now, if they had paid attention to the employees who were developing those products, or paid attention to the suppliers, paid attention to some details, major attention to minor details, these things matter. Otherwise, it's going to be a real tough, problem. I'll give a very simple example of how to beat that question of if the leadership really means that my employees are very important and I need to take care of them. Verizon had a printing press. Verizon, the big tele company, they have a printing press in Los Angeles. And I had visited them some years back to benchmark on human practices, because it was considered as one of the top companies from the HR point of view. So we were doing benchmarking exercise, and so I went to that company, and they had one very interesting process, that every leader had a fixed time meeting with the second, third level of employees, not with the direct reports, but with the next reports. So skip level meetings. Now the skip level meetings were so open and so frank that if the bosses were not doing a good job, the employee can go and talk to the boss's boss. So that way the organization was very alert, agile, and active, saying that, okay, some of them may report something to the big boss. So I may be in a very bad, position. And also there is something called a 360 degrees feedback, that a manager is not being evaluated only by his boss or his supervisor, but also by his colleagues, how he or she is behaving with the other departmental heads, and how he is behaving with his own employees, own colleagues in the department. So a 360 degrees round feedback is also taken, which is in the appraisal systems. Many organizations have this. So there are ways of, overcoming some of those issues. But yes, it is a very important aspect. One has to be, see, the whole idea of giving these inputs to the young adults is to train yourself to balance. There is no hard and set formula. If you ask me, is it what I should do? I will say yes and no at the same time, because there is no set formula for this. But you should appreciate that you need to balance. That I cannot overemphasize on customers and not emphasize on the employees who are actually delivering to the customers.
Yep. Wonderful.
Hello, Uncle. This is Riaz.
Uh, hey, Riaz, I'm so sorry. We are running out of time. We have one question that came up on the chat that we'll close with, but we'll sync up with you separately. I'm so sorry. We're in the last few
For
minutes.
sure. Yeah.
Riaz, we can do that after the class also. If you have the time, if you have the
Absolutely.
information, I have the time.
So
Awesome. That'll be great. Thank you.
one last question that we can take. Lakshman asks, on individual excellence, if excellence is being better than the best, how is that measured other than looking at the final results, especially when ethics are not quantifiable? Now, when Swami says do your best and leave the rest, how does that relate towards achieving individual excellency? Is it being our best, or is it being better than someone else?
Good question. It is better than your own best. You know, Swami says you do the best and leave the rest. That is because Swami wants us to do the best and not focus, not worry about the results. The Nishkame karma comes in there. Remember the Gita pravachan. That is what Swami's intention is, that you do your best. The action has to be taken by the individual, but the results are not up to him. Right? It is up to the Lord to decide. And when you are doing the better than the best, it is the individuals. For example, that example of the 100 meters breaststroke, from 1.202, it has been slashed down to 56 seconds. The same individual who beat his own Olympic record in 2016 in Rio Olympics, beat his own record in the year 2019 to 56 seconds. So he is doing his best, better than the best. Is that answered, Lakshman?
Yes, Uncle. Thanks.
All right. With that, there are a couple of things we'd like to go through in the next 6 minutes. I have posted the link to the feedback form in the chat. I'll let Mr. Jaggu emphasize on the need for feedback and how crucial it is. So Mr. Jaggu, as we're waiting for everybody to fill out the feedback, if there's anything they should be thinking of, if there are any steps, any mindset you would like them to make sure they cover, just would be great if you let them know.
They can talk about the usefulness of this session. They can talk about the way it was delivered. Was it clearly understood? Was it helpful? And how practical this is? And what are some of the takeaways which one would like to do it at work? Start doing at work.
I think that would be a great way to conclude the session. For those of you who are done filling out the feedback form with the link in the chat group, it would be great if you can come back and share what are some takeaways you are going back with and would like to see implemented at your workplace, as your capacity as an SSI member, any other organization or community-based exercise that you're a part of.
Swami says that don't have a castor oil face. Always keep smiling. So Kshitij is going to take a photograph of all of us at the end of this session. So please keep your videos on. Don't mute them. And then Kshitij, will you take the responsibility for clicking?
One way or the other, I'll make sure it happens. I might.
Thank you.
All right. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and take pictures. Rishma, if I may request you to not share your screen for a couple of seconds. Thank you very much. All right, 3, 2, 1. Yes. Give me 1 second. I'll make sure.
Riaz is not, he is still closed. Is he angry with me because I didn't answer his question?
I think so. That seems to be the only
Riaz,
possible.
don't get angry, man.
justification.
I'm still here.
So please unmute, unmute. We want to see your smiling face.
We are taking a group picture, Riaz, so hence the request to turn the video on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Riaz.
Sure.
All right, I got a couple of clicks. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
We are at 5:27, 3 minutes away. With that, I think I'd like to first take this opportunity to thank Swami for bringing in so many different pieces of the puzzle together to make the entire series happen. This was just day one of so many other sessions that are coming as well. So thank you, Swami. And then there is Mr. Jagu. Mr. Jagu, while we wouldn't want to put a lot of
Drop that Mr. business.
I thought you didn't want us to say Jagu uncle, so I'm being more. But Mr. Jagu, I won't call you Jagu, it just hurts a little. While we don't want to put pressure on you, but seeing how you've led us through this, I'd be happy to share my experience of how the program came together with anybody who wants to talk through it. And the session that we had today. Thank you so much. No pressure, but you are a role model for us, and we would be looking at each and every step that you take as a leader, as somebody we look up to, so that we can emulate you and be more like you. Thank you so much for your years of perseverance and being able to give it to us so readily and in such a clear, concise, and effective manner. So thank you.
Jai Sai Ram. Thank you very much.
I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank all of you who managed to attend the session today. We are looking forward to seeing your continued participation. Rishma, can we? So there'll be plenty of sessions that we'll be going through, and each of them come up with a whole bunch of things. So like today we spoke through the Baldrige model and different things that Mr. Jagu touched upon. So on the ELWS website, we have this dedicated section called the Learning Management System. We'll be referring it to as LMS. You can forget what it stands for. LMS would be one-stop shop for everything that you can refer to post and even before these sessions. This will be a place where you go to and you can find all links, reference materials, and all sorts of other factual data that you need to come prepared or to post-read a particular session. With that, I'm also very excited about the upcoming session on July 11. It is, please note a change in timing. It is starting a little later. It is from 5:30 to 7 p.m. to accommodate the fact that Dr. Sanjay Malingam is in India. And he'll be talking to us through different varying leadership styles.
He is an excellent speaker and I have worked very closely with him. I can assure you that you will really enjoy that session.
Indeed. And with that, I do see a lot of you have already registered, but the registration link is floating around. Please do make sure that you put your names down, because what might happen is we could have breakout sessions and all sorts of other logistical details that come in, and we would need a solid list of registered users. They will get the preference for coming into the sessions for the future modules that we'll be talking through. So please register if you haven't. As always, you know us. If you don't, I'm Kshitij. There's Madhu, who's my co-rep. There's Rishma and Ritesh from the Fremont SI centers as the Y reps there. Feel free to reach out to any of us or Mr. Jagu if you have any questions regarding what the upcoming sessions are, what's going to be covered, and what to look forward to, or just in general, if you want to talk about the series, we'd be happy to discuss and talk about anything that you'd like to. With that, we do come to the conclusion of the first session. Again, thank you so much, everybody, and we look forward to your continued participation. Sayonara. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.